So we're back, and as you can see from our dress, it's actually the next day. It's the next evening here in Yazd, and we've come at this sunset hour because where we are right now is only open for a very short time in the morning and a very short time in the evening. This is actually a place where we've been wanting to visit for a very long time, and although some of these do exist in India, it's not possible for non-Zoroastrians to enter. So here in Yazd, which is the world's capital of Zoroastrianism, we can actually come into one of the last few remaining houses of mortality, which is called as the Tower of Silence. So in Persian, in Parsi, they actually call it Dakhme, which means the Tower of Silence. And right now we're in front of these two. So there are actually two towers of silence here.
So we see two hills, and at the top we can see towers coming out, and in front of us we can see like 4 to 5 oddly shaped buildings. We really don't know what that is still, but what is this tower for?
So in Zoroastrianism, the people believed that the body does not belong to them after death. It belongs to nature, it belongs to God, and the concept of burying the dead really had an interesting evolution in this belief. So people would actually carry, like when someone died, the family members would actually carry the body out of the city and usually leave them in a place of death. So they would call it the yard of life and death, which meant that a person's life would culminate, and after death their body is of no use anymore to them, and therefore it is for the rest of the world to have. Eventually this developed into the concept of a tower of silence, where the Zoroastrians would actually bring the body from the village in a ceremony and then leave them inside this tower for elements of nature to take its course on the human body. And this typically meant vultures that were flying around in the desert would swoop down and break apart the human body, just like any predator would eat food. So this happened over time, and it became their way of sending somebody off to the afterlife, because they said the body is of no use and this is how you leave. Inside this yard though, they have quite a few monuments. One is supposed to be a temple and the other is supposed to be some kind of a house. So there are quite a few interesting elements of construction, including this wind tower.
Since this was located very far away from the village, all the people had to walk for many hours to come here, and they would be tired. So that is why they had these buildings. One of them was to conduct funeral rituals, one of them was just for sitting and resting, one of them was kitchen. So each of them had a specific purpose.
Also just learnt another interesting thing.
The person who was in charge of all the funeral rituals was called Sarar, and he lived here in this building. He was not allowed to enter the village. Most of the people died because of infectious diseases, and when this person who was in charge of conducting their funeral services, he would be so close to them, the chances of him catching the disease would be really high. So the villagers never allowed him to enter the village for the best interest of the rest of the villagers.
So people often wonder why the Zoroastrians actually followed this method, and it's interesting because in modern times obviously everybody follows the burial or the cremation methods predominantly around the world. Like in Hinduism, cremation is more popular. However, in most other religions, it's burial that's followed even today. The main reason why the Zoroastrians actually preferred to bring their dead here to the Tower of Silence was when the body is returned back to nature, this was the safest way they could actually do it. If you look at it, only vultures would come and eat, and the only other creatures that could really feed on the body were worms. So worms naturally consume parts of meat and flesh, and it decomposes just like it happens in any burial within the city or in the villages. But here, not only would the worms eat it, but vultures too. And vultures are so different from other animal scavengers in the sense that they never pick up their food and go to another place to eat. They would always finish eating the meat wherever they found it. And that's how any deceased humans, any body carrying infections, etc., would never really leave the Tower of Silence, and the rest of the village would remain protected. So this was a very smart way to handle it. Of course, it came with a lot of difficulties that people had to drag the body all the way from the city to here. So all of that eventually led to people just going for burial within the village itself.
So the people were allowed to come only till this spot, and from here onwards till the tower, only the Nesasalar would carry the body. He did not have any steps or ladder to do it. Instead, he had some holes in the wall which he used to climb and take the body into the towers. And now they have just made the steps so that tourists like us can come and see. The main reason why they have made high walls and not made any easy access for people to come in is because the body, when it is being decomposed, is not visible to anybody. Even when you bury it in the ground, nobody can actually see it being decomposed.
And the second reason was that they didn't want all these other animal scavengers to get inside, because those would then carry bits of the infectious body into the village.
So the Nesasalas would bring the body up till here and leave the body around what you see here as like a flat ground. They would leave the body here to decompose and be eaten by the vultures. Once they were decomposed, the bones would be remaining. They would collect all these bones and put it inside this big pit which you see, and then they would pour acid like lime and sulfur, and because of which the bones also would get decomposed, and the rainwater which would get collected here would penetrate down and enter the 4 wells which are dug around this tower.